What if healing a nation started with the courage of one man in a world ruled by power and corruption? One leader dares to expose the rot, even if it costs him everything. Before a kingdom could heal, the wound had to bleed. This is the story of Oyekan Olugbade and every broken nation. Oyekan Olugbade had always been a man of ambition and intellect. Born and raised in Western Nigeria, he spent decades mastering the fields of economics and finance, amassing a wealth of experience in leadership positions across different industries. His sharp mind and unwavering integrity made him a sought-after professional, and eventually he was recruited by a prestigious multinational oil company. His rise was swift and unprecedented, from heading departments to managing an entire branch, then overseeing regional operations. Oyekan quickly proved himself indispensable. Finally, he was appointed CEO. At various board meetings and conferences, he proved his competence and expertise, as many were dazed with the report of unprecedented achievements of the company under his leadership. But this journey to the top was far from easy. Its rapid ascension and unblemished reputation unsettled many vested interests within and outside the company. These individuals had long manipulated the organization for their own gain, engaging in dubious dealings that drained resources and tarnished corporate integrity. Fearful that Oyekan's leadership would disrupt their illicit activities, behind closed doors, they conspired against him, launching smear campaigns, fabricating allegations, and attempting to discredit him at every turn. Staff gathered in corners and corridors. Did you hear? They say he's hiding something. They say he's next to go. The poison of rumors spread quickly. Undeterred, Oyekan took to the helm, determined to steer the company towards ethical and long-term prosperity. His adversaries did not relent. They resorted to more insidious methods, deliberately sabotaging operations, tarnishing the company's reputation, and even endangering its physical assets. The pressure mounted, and the burden of constant battles weighed heavily on him. One evening, long after the lights had dimmed and the city lights blinked in silence, he sat alone at his office desk. The setting sun painted the skyline in red and gold. But all Oyekan saw were allegations on paper, documents he didn't authorize, deals he didn't sign. Feeling overwhelmed, Oyekan returned home that evening, the weight of unspoken battles pressing heavily on his shoulders. His wife, being an intelligent companion, noticed immediately and moved towards him. He sat on the edge of their bed, his elbows on his knees, head lowered. "They want me out," he said quietly. "Not because I am failing, but because I am not playing their game." His voice trembled, not from fear, but from exhaustion. She moved closer, placing a gentle hand on his back. "Is it the board again?" she asked. He nodded slowly. "Them and others. They tamper with projects, twist my decisions, and leak false reports. I walk into meetings like a man already judged. I am tired." She didn't interrupt. She knew when to listen. After a pause, she spoke with calm conviction. "You have always said leadership is lonely, but you are not alone in life, Oyekan. You don't have to carry this all by yourself." She took his hand. "Why don't you speak to Baba?" she continued. "Your father has seen more seasons than any boardroom could offer. He may not know your industry, but he knows people, power, betrayal, legacy. Let him guide you. Oyekan looked at her, his eyes heavy with something. You are right, he murmured. He will see what I can't. That night, the decision was made. The next morning, Oyekan left the city and drove back to his village. The air smelled different there, richer and grounded. At the family's ancestral home, on an old long bench, sat his father, Baba Olugbade, a man whose eyes seemed to hold entire lifetimes. He stroked his grey beard slowly as his son approached. You don't return without reason, Baba said, motioning for him to sit beside him on the long, worn bench. Oyekan sat, and for a while he said nothing. Then he began to speak. He poured out everything, the lies, the betrayals, the relentless efforts to discredit him, the weight of having to stand alone while carrying the future of something larger than himself. Baba Olugbade listened, patiently without interruption, only nodding now and then, the way a seasoned elder affirms pain without feeding it. When Oyekan finally stopped, Baba sighed deeply. My son, he said, placing a firm, gentle hand on Oyekan's shoulder, you are not the first, and you will not be the last to walk this path. He looked out into the horizon, then back at his son. Let me tell you a story. Long ago, Baba began, there was a powerful king. His empire stretched across rivers and hills. His lands were fertile, his people strong and wise. His name inspired respect far beyond his borders. But during a grand banquet, one celebrating his new bride, the king stumbled over a tree root of all things. He fell hard against a carved wooden post and injured his leg. It seemed minor at first, but at the palace it wasn't. The royal court summoned a renowned herbal doctor. He came swiftly, and his remedies and treatments seemed positive and effective. The swollen leg went down, and the king smiled again. But things changed. Over time, the king discovered this healer, that is the doctor, had been abusing his position, engaging in illicit deals, manipulating chiefs and siphoning wealth. The king was informed about his dubious activities. Furious and without delay, he summoned the herbal doctor and issued him a stern warning. Instead of desisting from the evil acts, he devised other means of carrying out his activities. As a result of his actions, he was issued several warnings, but the herbal doctor laughed them off. He felt invisible, shielded by his service to the king, and protected by the influential figures whose pockets he had generously filled. He knew the king was righteous, and that righteousness could be used against him. He felt insecure and eventually hatched a plan. He secretly introduced a venom extracted from a rare obscure snake into the king's wound. It wouldn't kill, but it would never heal, unless treated with a rare combination of roots and leaves, known only to a few. The venom would keep the king weak, dependent and vulnerable. He persisted in his wrongdealings, and this time he was caught red-handed by the king through spies. Some of his chiefs, who were complicit, pleaded on the doctor's behalf, but the king stood firm and didn't respond as expected. He banished him. Because the king loved his people too much to bow to corruption, even if it cost him his health and comfort. Over the years, many herbal doctors came. Some were frauds, Charlatans who merely replaced bandages sawed with pus with new ones and called it progress. Their intention was to deceive all and exploit the king of his wealth. Others were sincere but lacked the true and rare knowledge required for the treatment. All the herbal doctors were happy with their handsome rewards despite their failures. All except one man who was still unhappy as he genuinely seeks the king's welfare. The chiefs ruminated over the king's health as it worsened after failed and ineffective treatment from many doctors, and they proposed to the king to allow the banished herbal doctor resume his treatment. He agreed to their proposal on the ground that he should only administer treatment and then leave afterwards, as his banishment is still in effect. The chiefs visited the herbal doctor in his hermitage and tendered the reason for their visit. He shook his head and laughed like he knew this was coming, after which he gave his outrageous demands. The chiefs looked at each other and understood the herbal doctor was out to take advantage of the king's ordeal, or at least make a way for vengeance. They deemed it fit to give a try, as the herbal doctor had allies among them who argued in his favor. They related the demands of the herbal doctor to the king. The feedback made him more furious and thereby rejected the demands alongside the proposal and was ready to die in pain. The chiefs convinced him otherwise, but he discharged them in annoyance. The wives of the king heard about his tough resolve and rejection of the demands by their last hope. They pleaded and cried for the fear of losing their beloved husband. The king couldn't withstand the tears and worries, hence he gave in. The herbal doctor was summoned to resume treatment. He treated the king's wound and it proved effective as the king's health improved greatly. Although his plan was to give a temporary treatment which will only last for 6 months, after which he expects further compensation. Perhaps his banishment will be lifted when perceived as the only person with the remedy. The king appeared well again, playing traditional games with some of his chiefs, visiting the marketplaces to ask the welfare of his people, and he attended series of public functions. All seemed well for many months until one afternoon, when he felt a sudden pain on the almost healed leg, and that was it. After several days, the wound began to rotten, while it poured forth the pus within. The king became weak and bedridden. As the new phase of the king's trial began, a young herbal doctor emerged, bold, knowledgeable, and sincere. He had treated both the poor and the powerful with equal care, earning their trust and respect. One fateful day, he visited the market to get some items needed for the treatment of his patient, on which he overheard people discussing with sense of pity the state of the king's health. He sat with some of them and inquired further about the king's journey, to which he was furnished both the truth and rumor about the state of affairs. He felt pity for the good king and resolved to give it a try. Perhaps he could salvage the situation. Before stepping forward, he consulted his close friends, each tied to one of the 3 ruling clans. They warned him, this is not just medicine, this is politics. But he remained resolute. So they went to their clan leaders, and after much deliberation, the 3 ruling heads gave their support. With that endorsement, he was appointed the new royal herbal doctor. He met with the king for the very first time, and he realized that the rot was hidden behind the bandage. But when he began his work, he did something radical. He removed the bandages. He exposed the wound, as against the usual practice of the previous doctors, who only replaced old bandages with new ones to conceal the true face of the wound. The stench, the sight, it shocked the court. People were horrified. Disgusted, the healer didn't mask the problem, he treated it. As the treatment continued, the pain was worse than ever, and the people turned on him. Even the same ruling heads who supported him began to oppose him, realizing that true healing would destroy the structures they had profited from for years, as the allies of the old herbal doctor had a share from the outrageous demands of the herbal doctor. Rumors spread. They said he was not qualified. Some said he would cause the king to lose his leg. Others said he's too aggressive. Some of the chiefs threatened to propose his removal to the king, but the young herbal doctor endured. He ignored the threats, the slander, and the rejection. The king appeared like he was dying, as the remedy administered was very strong and effective, as it touched every part of his body, thereby neutralizing the venom introduced into his wound. To allay the worries of the king, the young herbal doctor explained the healing time, the inevitable pain, and reassured him of a lasting good health afterwards. The old herbal doctor and the corrupt chiefs conspired in secret meetings to sabotage the king's recovery with one final attempt. Desperate to undo the king's progress, they plotted to poison his food once more, this time bribing a palace servant to carry out their plan. The plot seemed to be unfolding perfectly, but it was foiled by a palace guard when the servant was caught red-handed attempting to add the venom to the king's meal. The herbal doctor and his accomplices were arrested and imprisoned for their role in the king's illness. As the king's health improved, the kingdom rejoiced, and his wives were overjoyed to see him restored to full health. The king resumed his royal duties and attended functions as usual. However, not everyone was pleased. Some corrupt officials, including certain clan heads, were unhappy and began to point fingers at one another for supporting the young herbal doctor's appointment. In appreciation of the young herbal doctor's exceptional work, sincerity, boldness, and wisdom, the king organized a grand feast in his honor. During the feast, the king expressed his heartfelt thanks, offered prayers, and officially appointed him as the royal herbal doctor and chief herbal doctor of the kingdom. The occasion was unforgettable, marked by tears of joy and a shared hope for a future filled with peace and prosperity. The kingdom thrived once again in peace and harmony. Baba Olugbade's eyes met Oyekan's. My son, you are that young herbal doctor, and your company is the wounded king. For years, people fed from the rot, and now they call you the poison because you refuse to cover the wound. They will resist you, they will whisper, they will strike, but you must endure. He paused. And this is not just about your company, he said. This is about our country. He looked out again into the wild land beyond the trees. Our country is like that king, blessed with brilliance and resources. But for decades, we have been treated with cover-ups and charlatans. And now, if we are to heal, it must be through pain and truth. Oyekan sat silently, his eyes glassy. So I must let the wound breathe, he said. Yes, Baba nodded. Let it breathe. Expose the rot. Stay steady and trust in what you know is right. Oyekan rose from the bench. He looked taller now, not just in height, but in spirit. He turned towards the road with a deep breath. The battle ahead would be long, but he was ready. They bid each other farewell, and he drove up as Baba watched him leave. Thank you for being part of Oyekan's journey. Please take a moment to like, comment, and share this story with others. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss what's next. See you in the next video. Bye.